Welcome back to NittanySports Huddle TV. I'm your host, Blair Thomas with Quintus McDonald.
What up, though?
This segment is brought to you by Ibordo Magnesium Therapy. For all your aches and pains, this defensive segment is geared towards making you feel better. Because with our defense, it makes our stadium people feel better.
It does, and it makes our opponent ache.
Well, magnesium is something that we all need in our body.
That's right.
We lack
Very
that,
true.
and we don't get enough of this nutrient in our body. So
Can't get too much magnesium.
They saying about, 80, maybe 75 to 80% people walking around magnesium deficient. And what magnesium does, it helps, alleviate some of the aches and pains that you may have. So it's something that we all need and something that's very important to our blood. But we'll get into it deeper at another time.
Well, what's the website? How can you get this stuff?
Go to getemt.com. Once again, that's getemt.com.
www.getemt.com. How about that?
There you go.
All right. So
Quintus, tell me, what was your take on the defense today?
well, I think overall they played well. The transition defense, when we muffed the punt in negative territory, the transition defense was holding up. I was disappointed in the offsides. I think we could have stopped them without getting a touchdown. Our defense has been averaging right at 15 points, giving up only 15 points a game, which is a good number. And we would have bettered that average had we not given up a score there. Now, getting turnovers, we're still a plus in that area. Our defensive line is still putting in good work. Our young cornerbacks were kind of taken advantage of today. When our defensive line didn't get the pressure that was needed, we got exposed a little bit.
Well, I don't think we got exposed. I mean, I think the offensive line held up. Anytime you're throwing the ball around as much as teams do today, I don't care who you are, you're going to get beat once in a while. And I think that's what happened. As I think that, like you said, we didn't get a pressure on a couple plays, so they was able to finish off their routes. And you see they ran a lot of corner routes, so they were trying to, catch us with two safeties in there and trying to get behind us on the outside.
Well, that one touchdown play, our corner was supposed to be impressed. He did not do a good job. He let the receiver free release and put pressure on the free safety, 2 men. Pressure on the free safety to make the safety have to choose one. If 2 men are coming down at the safety deep, the safety has to make a choice, and that choice is always to the middle of the field. And if our corner had pressed and he was up in position to press, he just didn't press. He didn't press the man. He gave him a free release, which made him run down the field, and it pulled the safety. And then his defense at the end of the play, he just didn't finish the play. And certainly I agree with you that you can't give a quarterback 4 or 5 seconds, because he'll find an open man most of the time. You can't cover a guy for that long at this level. It just doesn't happen. Because
they've shown that they had some speed on that team. So anytime you
big guys with speed too.
Yes. So that offensive line, in some cases, we got some pressure on them and wreaked some havoc in the offensive backfield, which that's what you want your defensive line to do week in and week out.
Absolutely.
And it showed with the big turnover, with the scoop and score, which was a outstanding job, really by the main people who've been showing up on defense. Carl has been on a great job all year long.
He's been consistent.
So he's been consistent, and that's what you need. They've been double teaming Zettel a lot. So, and then Johnson got a chance to, he wasn't getting as much pressure on that one play, but it was batted around.
He was being double teamed on that play.
Yes.
And he had, if you look at that play, Anthony Zettel had the opportunity to slant, and Johnson's position was to hold down the middle. And it was just fortunate, just like when Zettel batted the pass and it fell right into Sib's hand last week. This week, Nasib gets a sack and a fumble, and Johnson is playing pity pat with the ball and tapped it to himself like he was on the basketball court and took it in for 6. So that was excellent.
And that's what you like to see, those guys, because it seems like you're getting contribution from all the main guys up front.
Absolutely.
Our linebackers, trying to cover everything, kind of come underneath. I saw they try to run a couple of drive routes underneath our, behind our linebackers, but we played it well. So defensively speaking, I really think we did an outstanding job overall, because I think going into the half, they maybe had 2 or 3 first downs.
They only had 2. They had 1 first down in the first quarter on the first play from scrimmage. They didn't get their second first down in the first half until about 11 minutes to go in the second quarter. So they went into the halftime only giving up three first downs in the half. So that is good. That's good.
That's good, but the point side of that is not good.
That's exactly right.
That's going to, I guess, take us into our next segment when we start talking more about special teams. But I think our defense really did a great job. I would personally grade those guys out somewhere in around the B+ range,
B+
just because of the pressure that was applied by the guys up front. To me, it seemed like our linebackers, they were starting to cramp up. I think Bell went out with a cramp, but he returned to the game, which was outstanding. But across the board, I think those guys played well. You think our secondary got exposed a little bit?
Well, when I say exposed, I don't mean that in a sense that we've got an ailment there. Exposed because of the youth on the corners, specifically on the corners. We've got Marcus Allen did not play today.
Right, that was a big loss because
Jordan Lucas didn't play today. We were missing some key starters, but the 2 guys that played in their stead stepped up and did great job in the inside of the field.
That's the mark of a good team.
Absolutely.
When you have guys that can come in and fill those spots, because people have a lot of expectations of Penn State football, but people are still failing to realize.
I have. You said people, you don't have expectations?
Yes, I do. I do. But what I'm getting at is the fact that this was supposed to be our toughest year because of what we've been through.
The sanctions.
And yes, we got the scholarships back, but that still left us depleted and experienced.
Absolutely.
And the ability to have those kids in the weight room, getting bigger, stronger.
As a part of the Penn State football program.
Correct.
And academics.
So therefore, we're still deficient. But anytime you can have some young players that can come in and learn the system and contribute early enough that the coaches have confidence.
That's valuable experience that these guys are gaining. And I'm pretty sure that they'll learn from the mistakes that was made today. Brandon Johnson, I bet you the next time there's cover 2 and it's 3rd down and about 12 and he's supposed to be pressing, I bet he'll press.
He's gonna press that.
Absolutely.
So that's the thing that we gotta realize, is the fact that we have a good team. We just gotta continue to let these guys grow, get experience. They getting experience on.
He's talking to you out there, NittanySports Huddle fans. He's talking to all of you that have been beating up our team. Give us a break. We got a lot. Our upside is tremendous.
All right. And trust me, these guys are not going to let you down, because they gaining this experience that is much needed. A lot of people think anybody can go out there and play on that field, but they don't know what truly goes on, the work that it takes, the hours that you put in, the film study.
I don't think that the fans know that we're listening. When we're sitting around and we hear the rumblings, we're listening, folks. We hear you. We see you. We know what you're up to. And we're here to report and let you know that everything's going to be all right. Penn State football is not dead. We are here to stay.
So with that, folks, we'll be right back with our next segment, which will be special teams. This concludes this segment of Immortal Magnesium Therapy, and we'll be right back with more Nittany Sports Huddle TV.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Nittany Sports Huddle fans, welcome back to another edition of Nittany Sports Huddle. Here we are, week 4, where our Nittany Lions at home again and again and again for our third victory of the season against the San Diego State Aztecs. Fantastic game today, Blair.
Outstanding game, and this is something that our fans needed. Coming off the loss to Temple, which is a game we never should have lost, and in so many people's eyes, we let one get away. So now we have an opportunity to get back on a winning streak at home.
Absolutely.
And these guys have accomplished that.
Absolutely.
Not to say without any injuries. We have had some injuries on both sides of the ball, and we are starting to overcome some of those injuries.
Absolutely.
So I'm just glad that our offense is really starting to click. It started with the running game last week. Now we're starting to seem like coaches starting to call some plays to help stretch the field a little bit.
Yeah,
and so
going
many,
up top early.
Yes. So many fans
play.
have been upset that we haven't really stretched the field. So now that we're starting to throw the ball down the field a little bit, I'm starting to wonder, was that in the coach's plan not to show the deep balls down the field? But I think anytime you're going to run bubble screens, you got to do something to loosen it up. But
there were no bubble screens today.
That's another thing.
One bubble screen I saw that was incomplete, and we did stretch the field, absolutely. With the running game that has appeared with Saquon Barkley and Akil Lynch putting it into fifth gear, if you will, since Saquon showed up.
Yes, without a doubt.
that loosens up your linebackers. It makes the defensive coordinator begin to think about different plays. You can't just pin your ears back on your defensive linemen and have them coming after the quarterback, because now we've got a running game that's solid. And you touched on a good point. You wonder if that was all in the offensive coordinator's plan. I tell you what, I watched them begin to set plays up, and oftentimes if they're setting up a play for second down with a play on first down, if that play gets caught for a loss of yardage, it throws off the entire system. Series.
Yes.
Yeah. And what I saw today though was that our coaches were making some in-series adjustments. Adjustment was a big word for us coming after the Temple game.
Because a lot of people didn't see it. At least I didn't see any.
Yeah, I didn't see it either. We're together on that.
Yeah, so now that we're starting to make some changes, and the one thing that I think was a big difference today was the fact that we went downfield or downtown or attempted a pass down the field early in the game, and I think that loosened up everything for the running game, because Saquon Barkley, before he left the game with an injury, he showed some great runs, and the true talent that he is, it was just amazing to see, because that's something that we haven't seen here, and in my opinion, seen something like that with Silas Reds was here before he transferred, but this kid has another step and another gear, and you had mentioned a few seconds ago about that, I think, put the fire under Akil Lynch, because now he's playing at a different gear.
I saw Akil make yards after contact on 3 specific runs today. And actually, as big as he is, he had not been getting yards, consistent 2 yards at least after contact. He may fall forward for half a yard, but today, 3 different times on 3 different occasions, he got at least 2 yards after first contact. And that's needed. If you want to be a big-time back at a big-time school in the Big Ten, you better get yards after contact, or you'll be on the sideline.
We always grade yak yards, yards after contact.
That's it.
That is so important, because your offensive line can only do so much. Your receivers blocking on the edge can only do so much, because depending on the down and distance, that receiver may be at a disadvantage to pick up that downfield block.
Absolutely.
So you as a running back, sustain it, yes.
Might get a little contact, but he's at a disadvantage to try and sustain that block without getting a penalty.
Right, so it's important that to be a great back or a good back, in this league, like you said, you have to be able to get in yards after contact, and that's what Akil Lynch is starting to do.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, he also left the game, with the injury. So
I tell you what, speaking of that, we have to give credit to San Diego State. This ball club came over 2,000 miles across the country, and we talked about it in our pregame show about how difficult it is on the team that travels a distance. They came across the country, and they were game. They put up a valiant effort today. They fought well. They made big plays in the special teams. They made a big play. The turnovers was really big today, but they made a really big play in the special teams with that kick return when we were on the cusp of taking momentum in the game, and they got that return, and it turned everything around, really.
Well, a lot of people, they look at San Diego State and think that they may be an inferior team. But you got to understand, a lot of guys that can't get into Cal, guess where they go?
USC?
No. Saying that even USC don't get.
Right.
They go to San Diego State. So there's a lot of good football players on that team. I view.
When you say Cal, which be specific? You talking about University of California?
University of California.
What about UCLA? What about
all those
Southern California?
Well, all those schools on the West Coast.
Right.
If they can't get into those schools, they go on to San Diego State.
Absolutely.
So they
put players in the NFL consistently.
That's what I'm getting at. Is that they have talented players. I view them as a Temple of the West Coast because for years Temple always had good players, but they never had
a solid
team. So that's how I look at that team. Is I know there's a lot of good football players on there. Some of the backs running the tall sweep, they were doing an unbelievable job of reading the sweep and gaining positive yards.
Absolutely. While you're speaking of the backs, before we go to a commercial break, I really want to touch on Pumphrey, number 19. He's the next level back in my eyes, and he's only a junior.
Well, that's the guy that we talked about on our podcast about being that he was leading the team in receiving
and rushing.
Right. And they were spreading the ball around so much. You remember I was telling you, it was like, the top receiver had 9 catches.
Only nine receptions.
9 receptions, but there were so many guys with 3, 4, 5 receptions because of the way they were spreading the ball around.
Right. Pumphrey, I'm thoroughly impressed with that young man, and he's a smallish guy. I can see him in a slot doing some really big things at the next level.
You can build an offense around a guy like that.
Absolutely.
Because of his speed and ability. He may be
toughness.
He may be a small guy, but he plays big.
That's what you want. Those yak yards. He got some pretty good yak yards on a decent defense today.
Yes, he did. Did.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back with more from Nittany Sports Huddle. After these messages, we thank you for joining us on the Go PSU RV Nittany Sports Huddle. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our final edition in the 4th week of Nittany Sports Huddle. This is the Focus Up, Stay Focused special teams version. You can stay focused at www.focusup.com/IM02. That's a mouthful, right?
That's it, sure.
You got to stay focused just to get the website.
That's a good thing they can rewind it and make sure they get it right.
Okay, www.focusup.com/IAM02. Let's jump right in. We're joined right now by Matt, a Nittany Lion. Matt, are you a Penn State alum, or you just sporting the dawn in the blue and white?
Yes, sir.
Both?
Graduated 1998.
1998, young man.
I found out a little history from Matt. He said the first jersey that he received growing up just happened to be a 32.
Number 32.
It was 92. He just told it was a number 92.
But then he told me it was Kajana 32. No. Tell us the story.
So was it Franco?
No, it was the 32. It was probably 1988, I would assume.
That's your jersey.
Yeah. My birthday gift.
Wonderful.
Number 32.
Wonderful.
Didn't have a Nike swoosh on. I had that.
So there you go.
There you go. Yeah,
That's official.
The Russell R on it. You know?
Yeah.
There you go. That's official. That's official.
With the big holes, you know.
Yeah.
That's it.
So Matt, tell us what was your assessment of the game.
You know, we got a W. I'll take the W. A little sloppy if we're talking about special teams.
Oh yeah, let's stick to special teams. But Blair wants to know, and I think the world wants to know what your thoughts are, because you know we were talking a little bit when we did offense and defense to the fans and letting people know to ease up. But you look a little disappointed.
Yeah.
So come on, give it to us. Let us know.
You know, we're talking about special teams. You know, Thompson can't drop a punt.
Can't drop a punt. No.
You know, we need to. We played great defense in the first half, and then they marched right down the field. Big plays. You know, what they had 16 yards, but for those two big plays.
Two big plays.
Right. And you know, if the offense isn't working, we got to play defense.
Got to play better defense.
And they weren't playing defense.
Right. Well, our special teams put us in a hole in so many occasions because even though our defense wasn't playing well in those instances, if it wasn't for those special team plays, the perception of how the defense played would have been a lot different.
Right.
But now, just to talk about the whole, team and how the offense played, what was your thought on the offense side?
My thought was, once number 26 left the game, we didn't have an offense. You know?
So you think right now he's just that one-man show?
I think so.
No, I think a little different, because I think today was our first time really trying to stretch the field and throwing the ball down the field vertically, and that's why I projected early in the week that Hackenberg would go over 300 yards passing, even though he was a little bit shy of that, and it was because of each week we've been getting better and better in the run game. So I think we're starting to get in stride. I think we're starting to show more things offensively. I'm glad we didn't do as many bubble screens as we did, but there was a third and short where we tried to run the jet sweep with the back and forth motion. I thought
That was a play, that drove me crazy. The jet sweep into the boundary on 3rd and 2. I've been giving our coaches a pass on the offensive play calls, because I'm saying, okay, well they're setting things up, and if the setup doesn't work properly, then that series is beat up. But on 3rd and 2, you don't run a jet sweep to the boundary.
Into the boundary.
What is that? I didn't understand that.
Not only that, it was like a zag motion. It came across the formation
and then
it came back. So now his momentum
is off. Yeah, that was. I don't get that play at all.
That was in my opinion, those two plays that we had 4th and short, that third and short, that we should have been running the ball downhill right at them, and let our offense, because the play on one of the plays right before that play happened, we got 4 or 5 yards, 3 or 4 yards. So I thought, let our offensive line get confidence in themselves, because we get ready to get into the Big Ten play, and we're going to have to be able to have some type of ground attack.
And you know what? Thinking ahead, that might have been just to give the opposing defensive coordinator something else to think about. But I'm from the old school, same school that you're from. It sounds like you're from that same school too, man. You know what? Get the first down, and we'll work and keep it moving, and we'll work on those other things later. But let's get back to.
I just want to ask you one question.
Yes, sir.
Was there one pass over the middle of the field? Not one. Can we throw the ball to the tight end? I mean, I know he dropped some passes in the past.
I'm looking for some dig routes to come into play.
Something.
So that's a dig route to bring that thing across the middle. And you're absolutely correct. It seemed like they spoon feeding us some of the offense. They're not giving it all to us. But when you have a young team that's trying to formulate something, and we already had a deficit as far as experience, because we playing a lot of young guys, I think you got to use everything in your toolbox. And when I coach, I tell people, you like going to work without your toolbox if you don't use all your facets. And I think by us not throwing the ball across the middle, running some skinny posts, those things are putting too much pressure on the run game.
We actually scored on a pass over the middle.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, it was a dig. Yeah, it was a dig. We scored on a pass over the middle.
So there was one.
There was one.
And it was successful, so we
gotta take it.
It was exceptional. It was exceptional. Oftentimes you have to take what a team gives you.
True.
And take advantage of what's available to you. And if at some point I think we'll begin to do that. But Hackenberg's he's not been very accurate.
True. Very true.
Beyond 10 yards.
Yeah.
Of late. So, we're working towards that, and I think we'll get there. But before this segment runs out, guys, let's talk about special teams.
Okay, Matt, give us your opinion or your thoughts on, after we score, we kick off to them, and they return it right back down our throat. Tell us the fans' perspective of seeing something like that.
I don't want to watch.
That's what it was. I couldn't believe it. Did that just happen?
Yeah.
The good thing is we went down the field and we got three more points out. We got three out of it.
Yeah.
But that's something that you
wait till Big Ten play. This is San Diego State.
Well, San Diego State's not a slouch, and we touched on that. And I think San Diego State would do, they would be a formidable opponent in the Big Ten, as the Big Ten stands, today. So they're no slouch. It's just a team that we've not seen.
Sure.
So we don't. Yeah, we're not, our familiarity is just, that's San Diego State, but this is the same organization that's beat up teams like University of California, that's beaten teams like Arizona and Arizona State, and given Southern Cal a run for their money, as well as Washington and Oregon. So they're out there putting in work. They are a big team with good athletes that put players into the NFL on a consistent basis.
Sure.
So they're no slouches, and they came across the country and did an exceptional job. Today they made us become resilient. They made us show what's in our heart, and we're talking about the big kick return for a touchdown, and then for us to answer that. I wanted to answer with a touchdown, but I'll take 3 points.
Sure.
Rather than 3 plays and punt. I'll take those 3 points.
Because one thing is for sure, playing in the Big Ten, you're going to have to sustain some drives and come back from adversity.
Absolutely.
And once we get into the thick of it, it's going to be week in and week out that we're going to be experiencing some of those, things. So it's good that this team got a chance to see it young, early in the season. So now they know that we can't jump up a couple of touchdowns and think that the game is over.
Right.
We got to make sure that we play from the beginning to the end of the game.
And every play, nothing is a given. That blocked field goal, to me, was a complete letdown. So we had 2 very big negatives in our special teams play, where we had improved markedly from last season. But special teams, week 1, week 2, week 3, up until this week, we had been improved.
Your kicker kicks the ball low. Why are you kicking a 57-yard field goal? That just go for it, in my opinion.
Well,
he kicks the ball low. Everyone, they know it,
right? But you know what? If you look at the following field goal after that, he kicked the ball extremely high. So it's a learning tool. That
makes sense.
From a coaching perspective, it's a learning tool. Look, I know you've got a big leg, but you know what? You got to work on this part of your kicking game. And this is why, because when we're playing Michigan State and it's freezing cold and our defense has played well and we're only down 2 points with 30 seconds left in the game, and it's a 57-yard field goal and it's 10 degrees outside and your foot's frozen, what are you going to do? So it's a learning tool.
All right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, Matt, I want to thank you. Tell everybody where you're from and what you're watching.
Matt from Jersey, NittanySports Huddle TV. I'm out.
This is Dina, and you're watching NittanySports Huddle TV.
was that? What's the old boy? The receiver.
The receiver
Moss.
from Moss,
Yeah.
Randy Moss.
I hate it when they put the Fruity Munch on the top shelf.